pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome everybody. Just a reminder to council, and I know we've reminded you before about it, but try to speak into your microphone. We're still getting complaints that people can't hear anybody from home. So that, and the other announcement would be that for the people at home that aren't familiar with everything that we do, there's lots of times where we've had a committee of the whole meeting where we've discussed an issue in great depth beforehand. So if it appears like we're rushing through something, it's because we've already had our discussion about it, not because we're rushing through it. With that being, you wanted me to say something else about?
So the original Teams link that's on the agenda, it was tied to a different Microsoft account. Microsoft must have did an update and I can't get into that account, so I had to create a new link. But the YouTube video will be posted for the meeting tomorrow, so,
And that is all right.
yes.
Okay. Okay, so we'll do the roll call then.
Callahan? Here. Houston?
Here.
Hannah?
Yes.
Kurtz?
Here.
Crusader?
Here.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Jensen?
Yes.
Before we approve the agenda, there are a couple items that we're going to remove from the agenda itself. They would be items G, H, J, and under other business, M. So we'll be removing those. So what I would like is a motion to approve the agenda as revised. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it passes 7-0. Next, we move to public comment. Does anybody have any comment cards or anybody information? Anybody? Okay. So we have nothing there, so we'll move on to the next item, which is the acceptance and approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda would include the minutes from the November 28th, 2022. Was a regular meeting, the 319 Social House Class C liquor license renewal that includes Sunday service January 1, 2023 through December 31, 2023, and also the Elm Tree Special Class B retail native wine license renewal November 30, 2022 through November 29, 2023. Do I have that motion?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes 7-0. Next, we move to financials. So in terms of approval of claims, first, does anybody have any questions with regard to the claims? No? Okay, then I'd like a motion to approve the claims for payment.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 7-0. Next, we go to bank reconciliation. In terms of the financials, we have information on that in your packets. Does anybody have any questions regarding the bank reconciliation issues? Nobody? Okay, moving on then, we would move to item C, which is revenues and expenses to date. Again, any information, any questions regarding the various attachments that you had regarding the different revenues and expenses from the different departments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on then to the next item, which is petition, item number 4, which is petitions from the public. And we would start with the Bergen KDV fiscal year 2022 audit report.
That's the one we have copies of, right?
Yes.
We do?
Hard copies are on your council seats and attached.
Let's see if we can get the technology to work for us, huh?
All about the yardstick.
No juice.
Thought I saw a light going.
Need a pointy thing on the end.
That's what works at home, huh?
Is it unplugged?
Right?
Just had a taller city car.
Jen, is it plugged in by you?
No, yeah, he's all plugged in, I just need.
They're pretty good.
I thought we unplugged it when we moved the podium.
We did. So I don't see a light coming on, that's why I asked.
Building.
He tried, Susie, good job.
It comes on, it comes on.
Yeah, if you have printouts, we can just go through the printout of the PowerPoint, if that works.
Sorry, everybody. Well, our audience can't see it, sorry.
Which of the ones do you want to start with?
It'll just be the PowerPoint.
Okay.
That's what we'll go through. The other, did you print out like the whole
Yeah,
thing?
I
Oh,
printed out the
gotcha.
preliminary reports, but the,
Yep,
that's the
yep.
If we
PowerPoint.
want to fall asleep, we should read.
Yeah, it makes good bedtime material. Yeah, if you have trouble falling asleep, that usually does the trick for me.
Okay.
So, but, yeah, we'll mainly be focusing on the PowerPoint presentation, try to keep it higher level, and, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm Dustin Opatz. I'm a manager with Bergen KDV, and I'm super excited to be in front of you tonight. If you have any questions while I'm giving the presentation, feel free to stop me and ask them. I have such a passion for government finance that if nobody asks me any questions, I'll just blow right through the whole presentation without stopping. And you can save your questions for the end too. That's perfect. So start on the second slide, which is the independent auditors reports. This is kind of a list of all the different reports that you essentially pay us to issue for you. So the first one and the most important one is the independent auditors report. And it states that you as management are responsible for the financial statements. They're your financial statements, and it's our responsibility to come in and audit those financial statements and give you an opinion on them. And so we do give an unmodified opinion, which is the best we are allowed to give as your auditors. It states that everything is fairly stated in all material respects. So we do give an adverse opinion on the utility simply because we do not audit it. And it's just basically saying that information is not included in that report. And if you would like that information, you'd have to go to the utilities audit report, is essentially all that's saying. And that's why you have the preliminary financials instead of like nice bound copies, is because the utilities audit isn't quite done yet. And so we can't fully issue the report. But for all intents and purposes, the city audit is complete. The second report we issue is the report on government auditing standards. So because of the level of grant activity you receive, we are required to look a little bit closer at your compliance with laws, contracts, grant agreements, and related internal controls. And so related to that test work, we did have two findings, both at the significant deficiency level, both related to your component units, which is the library, foundation, and the fire department. And both of those are lack of segregation of accounting duties just because of the few office personnel that handle those transactions. So there's the exact same findings those two entities have received the past couple of years, but wanted to touch on them again so that you were aware of them. And then the last report is the Iowa legal compliance report. So the state auditor requires us to look at specific state statutes and check compliance with them. And so related to that test work, we did have two findings. So one was related to there was a transfer that wasn't approved by resolution and wasn't included in the budget. And so just a recommendation to approve all transfers either by resolution or through the budget process. And the second one was there was a budget amendment approved after May 31st, which is kind of the cutoff that the state gives you. And so you had a late budget amendment, so.
I did ask Ted if I could do it, and he said that was fine, but a citizen could have petitioned against it, and then we would have been in trouble for going over, so.
You can't do it within 30 days of the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah, it's just May 31st is the cutoff in state statute. But, so you can do them, it's just, yeah, like Susie said, if it's.
It's not
if it's-
recommended, but you
Right.
can do it.
Right,
so.
yeah. So that's kind of a high-level overview of the different reports that we issue. Next, we'll jump into the general fund activity for the year. So looking at receipts versus disbursements, receipts exceeded disbursements by about $548,000. And then after considering transfers in and other financing sources, your cash balance in that fund went up by about $700,000. And so looking at the fund balance percentage, so in your policy, it's about 25% is kind of your goal for fund balance as a percentage of expenditures. And at the end of 2022, you're sitting at about 50%. So a little more than double what your policy calls out for as far as the amount in fund balance. Looking at specific receipts, kind of on a 5-year trend. So overall receipts increased by about 13%, or 551,000. So part of that is taxes, which increased due to the levy. Your intergovernmental increased related to ARPA and receiving that. And so that's also part of why your fund balance increased, is because you didn't really spend any of your ARPA dollars this year. So all of that is currently sitting in the bank. And so that's also kind of inflating your cash balance, because it's obviously at some point you'll have to spend that. Licenses, charges for services increased related to some of your garbage collection rates and those increasing this year. And then miscellaneous receipts increased related to some increased revenue from citations. In addition to all your receipts, you did receive transfers in to the general fund of just shy of $500,000 in 2022. Moving on to disbursements. Overall disbursements were up by about 7%. So public safety was up related to some increased ambulance service costs. Public works increased related to increased fuel costs at the airport, as well as some of those increased garbage collection costs. Culture and rec increased related to increased tournaments and pool concessions, now that some of the effects of COVID are, dissipating.
If the ambulance is paid through the part of the ARPA funds, would that make a difference to you? Or just paid's paid?
Paid is paid.
Okay.
Yeah, if you spent over $750,000 of ARPA in 1 year, it would trigger a single audit. And so, but that would really be the only impact, because you can use ARPA for essentially anything, right? As long as you're not reducing your levy or paying debt with it, so,
Okay, thank you for that.
yeah, absolutely.
What do we have till 26th to have that dispersed?
Yeah, 24 to have it obligated, 26 to have it dispersed,
Yes.
so still some time. So the next page looks at your enterprise funds. So you added a new enterprise fund this year, which is your stormwater, and so you'll see that information is only for 1 year. The other two are on a 5-year trend. So in 2022, the water fund had an operating income of $750,000, which is a large increase from last year. So if you look at the green bar, last year was a small loss, and this year it's a pretty large income or gain. And so that's related to, you bought a bunch of water meters last year for remote reading purposes, and then this year you didn't. So you can see that that's why that would have fluctuated. So not included in these, so these are just operating income, which is your charges for services less your operating expenditures. So this doesn't include debt service, this doesn't include capital projects, and it doesn't include transfers to other funds.
And you said the stormwater is the first year we're tallying that, so that's the reason why the purple box is only there on
Correct.
current year only.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, it was a new charge for service starting in '22. And so, yeah, these bars don't include debt service, capital projects, or transfers to other funds. And so that's why, everything looks so nice and healthy, right? All the operating incomes are. So, for instance, for the green bar, outside of this number, you showed operating income of $750,000, but not included in that number is $91,000 of debt service, $432,000 of capital projects, and $142,000 of transfers to other funds. And then same kind of thing for the sewer fund. So you had $1.6 million of operating income for the sewer fund. And so not included in that is $292,000 of debt service and $232,000 of capital projects, and $450,000 of transfers to other funds. And so this chart and the chart on the next page won't necessarily jive, right? Just because of those things that are excluded from your operating income. So looking at your cash balances, so sewer fund, which is the blue bar, has increased over the 5 years presented pretty much in every year. And that's just due to positive operations and kind of fluctuations with your capital projects. And then water fund, you can see from 2018 through 2020, that number was pretty consistent. And then last year it dropped with the purchase of those water meters. And so, and this year was pretty consistent with last year. And then you can, if you squint really hard, you can see where the stormwater is, because it's just a new fund. So it doesn't have a lot of activity yet. It doesn't have a lot of expenses. So it's just getting started. The very last slide is the capital projects fund, and I just wanted to talk about it for a little bit. So you can kind of see this is the cash position of that fund. It kind of roller coasters a little bit, just because you are cash basis. So it's completely dependent on timing of grants, timing of bond proceeds, timing of disbursements. And so if you were more full accrual, you would recognize receivables in the revenue, and it would be a little less of a roller coaster. But I did want to draw your attention because it has been the source of significant negatives in the past couple of years. This year it's positive because you had some bond issuances. But within that fund, there are a few funds that are significantly negative by about 1.6 million that are being offset by some positive capital project funds that are $2.5 million positive, which nets to the 900,000. And so those negative capital project funds are some old capital projects that must have just overspent what was allocated to them. And so I just wanted you to be aware that eventually you'll need to come up with a plan to chip away at some of those big negatives, some of those capital project funds. And me and Susie talked about, some plans and some things you could do, but I wanted you to be aware of it since I was up here.
Okay.
And that was all I had. Do you
Anybody
have
have
questions for me?
You have questions for him?
So 2 years in a row, I think you said that we have issues with the fire station and the library, not enough people, is that it?
Yeah, so lack of segregation is basically looking at the amount, like the number of people you have and how many different people have their hands in every transaction or whatever to make sure that everything is done appropriately.
So how would you recommend we not get that checked?
Honestly, so it's at a mid-level finding, and so that's basically a saying like you've done everything with the amount of people that you have. And so outside of hiring additional people or bringing in people outside of those areas to review some of their stuff, there's not really a ton you can do. And it's definitely like a cost-benefit analysis because you don't want to bring all these people on just to segregate duties, just to have them sit around, right? Like you want to,
Sure.
it's a cost-benefit between having an efficient operation, but also, having enough checks and balances.
Does it matter that fire department has volunteers and nothing like that matters at all? And the school, and the
No, not
the
really.
library has more part-time employees than they do full-time?
Sure, not really, because it's still, because those entities also have significantly less activity than the city, so that's probably all the time that those entities warrant, as far as like, you wouldn't need someone necessarily full-time doing accounting for those entities, if that makes sense.
Okay, but you're not making any recommendations that we do something with regard to either of those two departments?
Nope, just, notifying you that those holes in internal control exist.
So with those two findings, I do pass them along to the library and fire department, and they are aware of it, and they're trying to put more steps in as double checks. But
Some
essentially,
oversight, kind of?
yeah,
Okay.
because, so the clerk's office used to also get this comment a lot, but the previous city clerk did get it finally off, because we've got different people double checking, and when you have small offices, it's hard to segregate, but we've got things in place to catch and do, and, some things do slip through, but you do your best and you catch it when it happens. It's a mistake and you correct it, so.
So do
With
we
the
wait for the hourly before we
895,000?
do anything to approve the audit?
Would that be based on the last 5 years, last 4 years?
Which slide are you looking at?
2022, 895,000, that's the amount you said we were over and need to write.
The one that the green.
Oh,
bar
gotcha.
going down.
Okay, so this slide is kind of tough to read because inside your capital project fund for your financial statements are probably like 10 or 15 individual project funds. And so there are a couple really large negative ones that are dragging this fund down, if that makes sense. So,
They exceed what was allocated to
Yep.
complete the project.
yep.
So would that be malfeasance of finance, or?
Not necessarily. Projects go over budget. Sometimes you don't bond enough. You don't get the grants you anticipated. It's not necessarily malfeasance, but it is a hole that you will eventually have to fill.
And I do have a plan in place to slowly start chipping away at those and get everything.
Well, I'd like to know, because when we allocated funds, we assumed that we allocated enough to,
But these are all like old projects.
Yeah.
Before you guys, before most of you were on council. These are several years back that just haven't been taken care of, and I'm gonna slowly chip away and make them go away.
So you've got a plan in
Mhm.
place to do that?
Yep. It'll take time. It's obviously not something that can be fixed like that, but I've got a plan and
Sounds good.
get it fixed.
Other than the comments about the library, fire station, everything else looked clean.
From an internal control standpoint, there were those 2 little legal compliance findings that we had to report, but
Sure.
yeah, other than that, everything
That's
else good.
difficult.
Yeah, there's so many statutes to trip you up on, so, yeah, not a big deal.
Great, thank you so much.
Brad, what
Oh,
about the
sorry.
500,000 you talked about yesterday?
I mentioned that there was some additional fund that we had, that we could fund from for some projects.
The Economic Development Fund,
Yes.
160.
Yeah.
So that we kind of use for our Catalyst in-kind grants, projects, like Kings Hall, Hardware Hank, the 160 fund. We're kind of using that for those type of projects, because we have a significant fund balance, and I don't know how that fund balance got there, because that was prior to me. So I'm just,
We're not complaining about having extra money in that fund, so.
I'm not complaining, but
It's used in a really good,
because there's
Right.
certain funds to where if you get too high, somebody comes and says, why do you have all this money sitting here? You need to do something with it, so trying to
a good thing.
use some of that money for things, so.
okay.
Anybody else, questions? Okay, thank you for your time, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you all.
Thank you. So glad some people really like doing these things.
Yeah.
What do you want him to do with
I'm just-
that? Okay.
Well,
Uh,
maybe not.
If it falls, it falls.
Thank you all.
Yep.
Thanks,
Dustin.
Okay, we'll do the engineer update. Brian? How are you this evening?
Good. How's
Good.
everybody doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. A few project updates for you. Highway 150 reconstruction, we've been working with Voltmer and with General Traffic on coordinating the signal timing between the Main Street system that's out here and the Second Street signal that was installed as part of the Highway 150 project. There was some programming that we just recently got installed last week, so you should be seeing a more efficient, continuous flow of traffic through the Main Street system. We'll be keeping an eye on the performance of those signals since that installation occurred last week. If the timing of the 2 clocks on those 2 different systems, if they deviate from each other, or if they continue to deviate from each other, General Traffic is actually recommending a GPS time sync device be installed on the Main Street system in order to keep it in sync with the newer equipment that's at the Second Street system. Again, we've reused that equipment that was installed in 2017, but we do want to maintain that most efficient movement of the traffic through the downtown signal. So I did speak with Jim Roth at Independence Light and Power, and he agrees that the device that's being recommended would be a real efficient way to keep the 2 systems in sync with each other, and it would prevent him from having to go out and perform periodic maintenance where he's got to reset those clocks to each other. So
Brian,
again,
ballpark, what are we talking about if we had to pay for something like that?
it'd be something like a $3,000. I'd give you a $3,000 to $4,000 budget item.
Okay, thank you.
For something like that. You're welcome. So we'll be talking more with General Traffic. We're in kind of a 30-day evaluation period on the signals that's called for in the contract. So we'll keep an eye on them and make sure they're not deviating too much, but it's a fairly simple solution that'll keep those 2 systems speaking the same language. One's from 1986 and one's from 2017, so.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, so that's it on Highway 150. Also on the 12th Street Northeast storm sewer improvements, we will be finalizing those plans here in the next few weeks. So we will have some tentative action items for you next month so that we can facilitate a bid letting and you can consider bids on that work in February. So look for that next month. And lastly, we're finalizing the street condition update that we talked about recently. Look forward to talking with you at your first meeting in January about the street prioritization and the next 5-year plan. So we'll have a final report to share with you your first meeting next year.
First regular meeting, not committee of the whole.
No, we'll talk committee of the
No.
whole.
Okay, committee of the whole then.
Yep.
Great. Brian, one question for you about the Highway 150. Because of I know we're still holding money there. Are we going to get a credit for the overage time on the 2 days or whatever it was that they were delayed in getting finished?
Yes, that's something that will be a council decision, but the contractor understands their completion date. They missed it by a couple days, so they're anticipating that they'll pay that penalty for the 2 or 3 days that they were late.
Great, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Another thing on the 150, since it was kind of late in getting seeding done and everything, will that be held until spring to see if it takes, or?
Yes, yep, good point. We will keep the contract open. We'll probably release most of the retainage, or recommend that you release most of the retainage, with the exception of the value of the seeding or something like that, so that you've got that in the event that seeding doesn't come. And
That's my main concern, I think.
Yep. Yep, that was some of the late seeding that we chose to have them go ahead and seed. We did that on the first phase as well at the end of 2021. Most of it did come, but they did come back and touched up some areas that I think were related to salt kill from the new grass seed and then the salting of the roads.
Are we holding 10%, or is it some other number that we're holding?
The DOT items, the maximum, that goes to a maximum of 30,000 on the Division 2 items, which are the DOT eligible. The Division 1 items, we held 5% of the contract amount. So all that's still being held at this point. But like I said, as we get the signals through next month, then we'll be looking at probably releasing a portion of that retainage
Okay, great,
based on work completed.
sure.
Do you have the road projects done already for what we're gonna do next year, the next 5 years or not?
We're waiting on input from the water and sewer department before we finalize that. We have the placeholders there. We know what warrants it based on the condition analysis that we performed. But that'll be a discussion that we have at Committee of the Whole, and I'm sure we'll have input from sewer and water department before that meeting, so.
I talked to Travis about it specifically this morning, and he said he would get in touch with you in terms of whatever else you need for that, so we could have it timely.
Great, yep, and Tommy was in on Friday to get a map from us so that it's going to be easier for him to kind of inventory and look at their history of repairs and things. So that's moving along nicely.
Good, thank
Appreciate
you.
their work.
Yes.
Yep. Any other questions?
Okay,
Great,
thank you, Brian, appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian.
you're welcome.
Okay, next one, we'll move to hearing and ordinances. So first, we have a public hearing on the fiscal year 2023 budget amendment number 1. So pursuant to the agenda, we're going to convene a public hearing for the fiscal year 2023 budget amendment number 1 at this time. This was published on November 30th, 2022 in the edition of the Bulletin Journal. So do we have any discussion with regard to the budget amendment that we're, for public comment?
This is in hopes that I don't have to do another one after May. So doing one early, and then we'll do our normal one in the spring for the other stuff, so.
Okay, so if there's no public comments with regard to that, then I will now close the public hearing and ask the city clerk to, there weren't any comments, but if there were any, she would have noted them for the record at this time. So then, the budget amendment itself would be approved on the January 9, 2023 meeting itself. So we would then move to item B, which is the vacation ordinance. This is the third and final reading. So I need a motion to approve the third and final reading of the ordinance providing for the vacation and conveyance of a portion of the 5th Street Northeast right-of-way. As you may recall, this is the house that a portion of the house is in the city property, and we also had some other liability issues potentially that we were looking at as well. So what we've done is we've entered into a contract whereby we're conveying part of the city property there in the front of the house as it comes toward the street far enough to get the house within their owned property, and also to alleviate any problems with the wall and the stairs that are in that area. So if there was a liability concern about tree roots or something like that, it would be then on the homeowner, not on the city. So we were trying to accomplish two things at one time. We were trying to get some protection for the city, and at the same time, we were also correcting the lot lines. And I know that there are some other issues on that same street potentially that we would have to deal with on a case-by-case basis, but we're dealing with them on a case-by-case basis rather than a global one. At least that's the thing. So first, I need the motion itself.
So moved.
Second.
Did she sign this yet?
She has signed it, and she has paid the consideration as well. So we're ready to finalize
Is
this.
this for 8 feet?
It is for 8 feet, yes.
Another property owner was wondering about getting 8 feet also.
All they have to do is come to us and tell us what it is and why they need it and what the basis of it is, and we'll consider it just like we did hers.
Well, there's just simply the fact that they're on the same street, same side. She got 8 feet, and we're expecting similar.
Well, we'll certainly talk to them about it. Yeah, we're dealing with her first, and we'll deal with her first, and then we'll deal with the other issues as they come up. But we're certainly not discounting helping somebody else out if they need some assistance as well. Any other discussion with regard to the motion? This would be a roll call vote then?
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
No.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
That passes 6-1. Move now to agenda item C, which is the code section 69.06 parking regulations, the parking prohibited. This is the first reading. What we have done after discussion with the city attorney's office is the original section reads that it's no person shall stop, stand, park a vehicle except when necessary to avoid conflict with other traffic or in compliance with the directions of a peace officer or traffic control device in any of the following places. And item number 4 was sidewalks on or across a sidewalk. Our proposed change is to change that language to sidewalks on, over, or across a sidewalk where any portion of the vehicle impedes or interferes to any degree with the pedestrian use of the sidewalk. So that's the recommended language from City Council on that. So first, I need a motion to approve the first reading of this.
So moved.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second, so we can now discuss this issue further. Does anybody have any further discussion with regard to this? I know we've talked about this a couple of times in both open session and in committee of the whole as well. Does anybody else have any concerns about the language or any concerns about why we're doing this or anything else that we need to talk about?
On Second Avenue Northeast, and I think there's a couple other spots too, all on 7th Street Northwest.
Okay.
We're going to run into the same thing where bumpers of vehicles go over the sidewalk when they park on those.
Right, and I think the idea here is we want to try to, by way of having the change in the ordinance itself, the concept that we're trying to make is we're trying to encourage people to pay more attention and to make sure that they're not blocking the sidewalk. And we're also trying to give, we want the police officers to have discretion in terms of when they write a ticket and when they don't write a ticket. But we're also trying to avoid situations where it's impassable, so that somebody in a wheelchair or a pedestrian that's walking on the sidewalk cannot get through. We're really not talking about vehicles that are parked on the sidewalk. We're mostly talking about vehicles that some portion of the vehicle interferes with the sidewalk but based on how they have to park the car. And there may be some areas of town where we'll have to make exceptions on it. But, I mean, overall, we're trying to help resolve a situation that was brought to our attention
And be consistent.
and be consistent, right?
But there's always going to be some discretion that's going to have to be used, just
Yeah.
based on when the town was built and some of the issues that weren't taken into consideration.
No, absolutely, that's 100% accurate. Deb, did you have anything on that? Tom? Okay. If there's nothing else, if there's no further discussion on that, then this is a roll call for the first reading of this particular section.
Hannah,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Okay, so that passes 7-0. We have an option of, rather than having it read two more times in two consecutive council meetings, of having it done now and finalizing. Does the majority of the council feel that it's appropriate for us to consider this as a whole now? Or is this something that we want to have the second and third readings on? I'm just looking for some kind of an idea what you think, because we would need a 2/3.
I need, if you'd want to do it, I need 6 yes votes to waive the second and third readings.
I think for the amount of time that we have spent on that subject already, I think we should certainly consider going ahead and waiving the last 2 readings.
I would make a motion.
Okay.
Seconded.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second in order to waive the final 2 readings of that, so that it would be, we could potentially pass that tonight then. So that would again be a roll call vote.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes,
So then I need a motion to have this particular ordinance amendment to Code Section 69.06 Sub 4 parking regulations, parking prohibited, placed in final passage for adoption pursuant to Iowa Code Section 380.3. First, I need that motion to be made.
So moved.
And then I have a motion and a second. That again is a roll call vote.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion is now in a position to be placed on final passage, or that does it?
That does it.
Okay, that's excellent then, I appreciate that. Okay, then we'll move on to the next section, which is resolutions, and we're going to start with a couple of different things that we're trying to accomplish. The first is under the Planning and Zoning Commission appointment. I need a motion to approve a resolution that reappoints Jane Levin to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
She must want to stay on it then.
She does. I've consulted with her. She wants to stay on. I've also consulted with Todd Sheritz, who's the head of the Planning and Zoning, and he also wants her to stay on. I'm recommending that I obviously recommended and reappointed her, so I'm just asking for your approval on doing so. So that's a roll call vote again.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes,
Kurtz.
Yes.
Crusader.
Yes.
That passes 7-0. Next, we move to item B, which is also a Planning and Zoning Commission appointment. Again, this is a reappointment. This one would be a motion to approve a resolution that reappoints Stephanie Saylor to the Planning and Zoning Commission. First, I need the motion.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. This was my position on planning and zoning, where we appointed her to fill out the rest of my term, so this would be moving forward from there for her. So I would also, same thing, I've spoken to her, she does want to continue on, and I've also spoken with Todd, he also wants her to continue on. So I would recommend that you pass this. This would be a roll call vote again.
Jensen.
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Crusader.
Yes.
Passes 7. I'm sorry.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Mike.
Carried over.
You're a carryover to another page.
Easy.
We were going to pass it with you.
All right, next we'll move to item C, which is the Board of Adjustment Board Member Appointment. Again, this is a motion to approve a resolution that appoints Nate Whitehead to the Board of Adjustment, reappoints Nate Whitehead to the Board of Adjustments. I've spoken with Nate, he is interested in continuing to serve. Did I get first I need the motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, then, any discussion on that? Then this is a roll call vote again.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes,
Kurtz.
Yes.
Crusader.
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 7-0 also. Next, we move to item D, which is a necessary transfer transaction resolution. This is a motion, I'm looking for a motion to approve a resolution of a necessary transfer transaction to place funds into a reserve fund account. This was pursuant to the recommendations from the auditor. This was one of the items that they wanted us to handle. This is where we're going to, let's see. Okay, I'll take the motion first.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. So we're dealing with a fund that that's used for paying the 2021 water revenue bond. And then once the bond is paid in full, the funds would then be transferred back to the water fund, which is Fund Number 600. So this is something that's recommended that we do, and therefore I'm asking that you do so. And this would be a roll call vote again.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Okay, this is again that's 7-0. We now move to item E, which is the repeal of Resolution 2022-126. First, I need a motion to repeal Resolution 2022-126 that stated that the city's support for the historic Highway 20 tourism grant.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. If you recall, we were partnering with two other cities, and it turned out that we were unable to do that. So we had a resolution where we were going to support that to the tune of $15,000 for some work on it because the project's not going forward with the tourism issue. We need to then take that money back by way of resolution. So we're asking to repeal the resolution itself. The original resolution, then we'll have another one doing something else with the same project, but that would end this part of it. Any questions on that? Did I make that?
Because we're not working with the other two communities on
We are
it?
not working with other two communities.
That and that original resolution specifically stated that grant, but since that grant was killed, for lack of better term, we need to kill that resolution.
Return the money to the general fund.
Well, we never spent the money.
Yeah,
We
it-
just,
it
we
wasn't-
did- we just,
Paper it was.
yes.
It was earmarked for that specific grant, but since that grant's not going through, we need to.
Okay.
Correct. So, again, that's a roll call vote.
Hannah,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 7-0. Next, we move to item F, which is a resolution establishing the use of American Recovery Plan Act funds for designated projects. First, I need a motion to approve a resolution establishing the use of American Recovery Plan Act funds for designated projects.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. What we're talking about here is two projects in particular. The first is the complex turf project. We had moved, we moved some of the ARPA areas where we were considering placing funds, and we want to earmark, is it $100,000 for the turf project? The turf project is an important project to us because not only does it allow us to make the fields better, but it also allows us to have some money-making with regard to tournaments and stuff that we would have for the projects. Currently, we're only able to have one-day tournaments because of the fact that we have to have a rain day. But if we turf the infields of the fields, then that puts us in a position where we can have two-day tournaments. So not only are we making more income on the tournaments themselves, but we're also generating more revenue to the city itself. The second of those two projects is what was similar to what we were doing at Bremer Park with the tourism grant that we took away. We're looking to, we have an engineering plan that would allow us to, an architectural plan to decide how we're going to handle the Bremer Park issue or the Mayor's Park or whatever it ends up being called. But we have an estimate from the architect for 11,300, no,
12,300. It's
So,
letter I. We'll get to it in a little bit.
okay. But the resolution that we're talking, and so we're going to use ARPA money for that particular project. So we were earmarking $15,000 for it in the event that the project ended up being more than what the original architects was at 12.3, but we'll only spend what we spend, and if we don't spend it, it comes back into the ARPA funds for itself. So that's the motion itself. So is there a further discussion with regard to that issue? Anyone? Okay, then this would again be a roll call vote.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Crusader.
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 7-0. Now, we're skipping items G and H. We've taken them off the agenda, so now we're moving to item I, which is the professional services agreement for the Bremer Park Improvement Project. First, I need a motion to approve a resolution that approves the professional services agreement of Ritlin and Cooper Landscape Architects for the Bremer Park Improvement Project.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. We have the contract from them, so what we're looking to do is, this is a $12,300 contract, and Crawford's office is also involved in this project. We would be looking for a design to determine the best avenues to do this. We've also got some private contributions. Audrey Hill has money, but she's also going to be contributing to the project itself. But we need this design first. We need to figure out what the design is, and then we'll have the architects meet with her and incorporate some of the things that's part of a design for what's going to work for her as well to honor Bob. So that's what this is about. So I'm further discussion on that?
So then
Anyone?
we'll have fees to Crawford for this too, or that's all 12.3 is,
It's all included.
thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so that would be a roll call vote again.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes,
Kurtz,
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
It passes 7-0. We're skipping item J, so we would then move to item K, which is to replace and repeal Resolution 2022-141, Homeowner Agency Repair Program Project. So first, I need a motion to approve a resolution that replaces and repeals Resolution 2022-141 that approved a homeowner agency repair program project for 202 19th Avenue Northwest, Lot 6.
so moved.
I have the motion, I have a second. I have a motion and a second. The reason for this was that the cost of the furnace price had gone up, so that's the reason why the quote that was originally done needed to be taken out. So this particular K is to remove what we previously approved, and then under 7 new business, is that, under 7 new business, then we would then be approving the correct amount. So first, we need to repeal the one we had, and then we can move on to reinserting the new one. So that's a roll call vote again.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes,
Kurtz.
Yes.
Crusader.
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
That passes 7-0. And we now move to other business. This is a revision to the Homeowner Agency Repair Program Project Contract. First, I need a motion to approve the revised Homeowner Agency Repair Project Contract for 202 19th Avenue Northwest, Lot 6.
So moved.
second.
I have a motion and a second. So as I discussed, because the furnace price had gone up when the quote was originally done, this new contract would reflect the correct amount. Any discussion on that? Okay, that would be a roll call vote again.
Hannah,
Yes,
Kurtz.
Yes.
Crusader.
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
That passes 7-0. We now move to other business. Item B. Apparently, someone wants to resign from the council, so this would be a motion to accept Councilmember Kurtz's resignation and declare a vacancy in the at-large 2 council seat effective January 2, 2023. And John, you're not allowed to vote.
Consent.
Do I have the motion first?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there, I don't suspect there's any discussion on that, because I'm sure some of you are ready to get rid of John, but we're gonna miss him sincerely, that's for sure. Thank you, John, for your
I
service.
will miss you, Mr. Kurtz.
Thank you.
It's just-
Is this a roll call, or
Just consent.
this is a consent? So all in favor of accepting Mr. Kurtz's resignation, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? John, you're out. Move
Thank you.
Move it. John, thank you so much for your service. We
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you.
Next, we move to item C, which is to fill the council vacancy. And we've had some discussion with regard to this, and I think I'm looking for a motion to fill the council vacancy of the at-large seat by an appointment. So first, I need that.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. The idea here is that we'll appoint for this position, and that appointment would then be through the next general election, which would be in November. We would, if the appointment itself would require anybody that was interested in applying for the position to provide their application by noon on Thursday, December the 29th. We would then fill the vacancy at the meeting on January the 9th of 2023. So we have a motion and a second. Is there
Brad?
discussion regarding this?
Isn't your term
It would,
done in 3 years?
Yes, but when you're filling a vacancy under Iowa law, you can only fill to the next general election, and that, when you
Okay.
have to have another thing. So this would only be an appointment to the next general election.
Cool, thank you.
Sure,
And then the election would be to finish the term.
that's correct.
It wouldn't restart the clock for this
It would
seat.
just be the final 2 years
Yeah.
then.
Right.
That's exactly correct. So, is there further discussion about that first? None? Okay, roll call vote on that, please.
Kurt,
Okay, yeah, Kirsten can vote on this.
Yes.
Sure, go ahead.
Brasada,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes,
Hannah.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 7-0, so we'll send out the proper legal notices on that, and we'll be looking to fill a vacancy on January the 9th then. Next item is item D, which is the Tobacco King cigarette permit. I need a motion to approve the Tobacco King cigarette permit first.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. The Tobacco King would be located at 209 First Street East. It's an application, let's see,
That's just a note.
pardon me?
That's just a note. You
Okay.
won't see it.
So is there 209 First Street, so this is where the flower shop is now, is that right?
Yeah.
That's our recollection.
Okay, any further discussion about that subject? Catherine?
Which flower shop?
The mill, or the flower mill, or
The
what?
flower mill, I believe.
Okay, yeah, that building is.
Okay,
So it'd
so,
be the one right next to it then, not the actual flower?
I don't know, it's 209 First Street, I'm honestly not sure which of those addresses it is, but it's
Okay.
right there in that area by the flower mill.
It is the, right next to Denny, in between, Heshen and the flower mill, so that open where the kids along that blue, the right way used to be. That's where.
Thank you for that. Okay, so this is a roll call vote then?
Brasada,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan,
No?
Houston,
yes,
Hannah,
Yes.
Kurt.
Yes.
Passes 6-1. Next, we move to item E, which is the MHI water tower renderings. First, I need a motion to approve the additional cost of $4,238 to put the City of Independence logo on the MHI water tower.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there discussion with regard to that? We talked about it at the committee of the whole meeting, but if anybody has discussion about it.
how much is that visible to the public when they drive by,
Well, I think you can see it
Really?
from
You can
from
see it
Highway
very
20.
It's very visible.
if you're looking for it?
Yeah.
Well, I know
Oh.
when you come into everybody, there's Independence, there's the red, white, and blue water tower. I mean, that's just been a given for
Yeah.
years.
Okay.
That's our most
Yeah.
visible water tower
That
in
is the
town.
most visible as like coming into Independence. I think it's a good idea for that reason.
So you say.
It's my opinion.
I think all the positive comments we've gotten from the courthouse water tower, it's well worth doing.
Okay, further discussion? That would be a roll call vote then?
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston,
Yes,
Hannah.
Yes.
Kurt.
Yes.
Brasada.
Yes.
That passes 7-0. Next, we move to a related subject, which is item F, which is the street shop water tower rendering. This would be a motion to approve the additional cost of $7,700 to put the City of Independence logo on the street shop water tower. First, I need the motion.
So moved.
second.
I have a motion and a second. Catherine, you had a quizzical look on your face.
I'm not sure I know where that one's
Right
located.
across from Gators.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, okay, I do. I had to think about that. Okay.
So for clarification, the difference in price of that one is that we're putting the logo on two sides as opposed to one that's at MHI,
That-
just for everybody else.
And
Yeah, no, that is-
do we need it on two sides?
We do, because that's one that you have the visibility from both sides, so you could see it on both sides, kind of like what we did on the one by the courthouse. Further discussion with regard to that? Okay, that would again be a roll call vote.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston,
Yes,
Hannah.
Yes.
Kurt.
Yes.
Brasada.
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 7-0. Next, we move to item G, which is the facade grant asbestos removal revised contract. First, I need a motion to approve the revised facade project asbestos abatement removal contract with ECCO Midwest, Inc.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. This is when we were doing the facade remodeling, 217 First Street East, which I believe is Adams, had some, the glue that was used for the exterior of the building itself, the tiles and stuff that were up there. Part of the glue in some of the sections had asbestos in the glue. So in order to handle it properly, it would need to be abated, and that's where the contract from Eco Midwest comes in to modify the project itself. So, and it's something that is necessary. Further discussion with regard to that? Okay, then roll call vote on that again, please.
Callahan?
Yes.
Houston?
Yes.
Hannah?
Yes.
Kurtz?
Yes.
Crusader?
Yes.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Jensen?
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Move to item H, which is the Independence Facade COVID project, change order number 6. As you may or may not recall, we have two sections of the facade work that were done. One's called COVID, and the one is just called the regular one. This happens to be the COVID, which is why that's got the COVID name in it, because it started first, and it has a deadline date for the completion of the work sooner. So that's why we keep the designations between the two of them. So this change order is for 208 to 212 First Street East. And it, did I get the motion yet? Okay. So I need a motion to approve change order number 6 with no contract cost changes for the Independent Facade
So
COVID
moved.
project. I have a motion and a second. As I said, there's no contract change in this. It's just a matter of, there were some details that we're working out with the actual business owner themselves. So this is a roll call vote again.
Houston?
Yes.
Hannah?
Yes.
Kurtz?
Yes.
Crusader?
Yes.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Jensen?
Yes.
Callahan?
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next, we move to item I, which is the G-Works payments. I need a motion to authorize the city clerk treasurer to sign the agreement with G-Works Payments and start the change over for our electronic payment processing.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Currently, as we discussed in the last committee of the whole meeting, we use a company called Forte for our payment processing for building permits that are done online. And when we entered into the agreement with Forte in 2021, it was for a term of 5 years. We didn't foresee that we'd need to get, we determined that there's a better contract out there. There's no penalty for canceling the current agreement that we have. And this particular switch would make things more efficient for the way that we do things. So therefore, that's why we're looking to do this. Is there further discussion or questions about that? By the way, by making the change now and rather than waiting, we do get a $500 credit on our account with G-Works for future invoices that might exist. So that's something else to be considering. So if there's no further discussion on that, that would be a roll call vote again.
Hannah?
Yes.
Kurtz?
Yes.
Crusader?
Yes.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Jensen?
Yes.
Callahan?
Yes.
Houston?
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next, we move to item J. So item J, which is the second council meeting in December. So I'm looking for a motion to cancel the Tuesday, December 27, 2022 regularly scheduled city council meeting.
So moved.
That was bad.
A little too enthusiastic there, but we'll.
All over that
Tell us how you really feel.
So we had talked about this at the committee of the whole meeting, and I think that there's pretty much a consensus that we don't need the meeting right after Christmas. So this would be it's a roll call vote, I'm sorry. So a roll call vote on that then?
Kurtz?
Yes.
Crusader?
Yes.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Jensen?
Yes.
Callahan?
Yes.
Houston?
No.
No.
You're outvoted.
Bah humbug.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, so
Hannah?
Yes.
it passes 6-1. Next, Next, we'll move to item K, which is the city council meeting schedule for 2023, and I need a motion to adopt the 2023 city council meeting schedule.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. This is just a, it's not a roll call, right?
Consent.
Oh, it's just consent. Okay. So anybody further discussion with regard to the schedule for
Do we have
2023?
paper copies of that? Yeah.
I can print it.
So all in favor of adopting this 2023 schedule?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Passes 7-0. Next, we move to item L, which is the December 2023, January 2024 holiday observances. So I need a motion to observe Christmas Eve 2023 on Friday, February 22nd, 2023. Sorry, did I say that wrong?
On Friday, December 22nd, 2023. You said February.
Okay, we're not going to do it in February. We just decided to have Christmas in December, if that's okay with everybody. So the motion is to observe the Christmas Eve 2023 on Friday, December 22nd, 2023, and New Year's Eve 2023 on Friday, December 29, 2023. So first, I need the motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion with regard to using those dates for our City Hall observance of those holidays. This is something we discussed at the last meeting as well, so I don't expect there's too much to discuss about it. This is a
Roll call.
roll call vote on this then, please.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Okay, this passes 7-0.
Barely.
Next, we'll move to reports. So we'll start with council members themselves. Kath,
We're skipping Ann Laughlin. Never mind.
I'm sorry?
Never mind, I'm just reading my notes here. I have nothing, thank you, though.
Okay, Mike?
Just, it was a very good community support that I noticed. People coming in, it was pretty valuable, and much appreciation to those who participated.
Yeah, and it went, and as much as something like that can go smoothly, it went as smoothly as we possibly could have done it. And I'm
Very well.
very happy with everybody that participated as well. Thank you for that, Mike. Brian, do you have something?
I just want to thank everybody for the last several years of being on the council, working with everybody. It's been a real eye-opening and rewarding experience. I've enjoyed it. I'll miss it, but I'm looking forward to going to the County Board of Supervisors. But it's been an honor to be on the council and be Mayor Pro Tem for the mayor. I really do appreciate it, and thank you.
Thanks for your
Thank you,
service.
thank you,
Thank you.
John. Deb?
Just Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody.
Tom?
Good point.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody also. There was something I was gonna ask. I can't think of what it is now.
Speed cameras.
That was not nice.
It'll come to me at 10 o'clock tonight while I'm thinking about Olivia Newton-John.
We'll save it for next.
Jen?
Good.
Bah humbug. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks, John, for your service.
Thank you.
We're gonna miss you. And that's all I have.
Just a reminder, tomorrow night is the joint city, county, and school board meeting, which is taking place at the school itself.
Administration.
Administration building starts at 5:30.
5:30, okay. I knew
Okay,
it was
and you're all cordially invited to attend, and the purpose of it, obviously, is to interact with our other city, county and other agencies, and that would be something that is important to do, so you can get to know them better and what they're thinking and what they're doing, and compared to what we're thinking and what we're doing. I also wanted to update everybody the status of the construction on the police station. This is out for bidding. The contractors that are bidding will be coming in on Thursday, December 15th, to get their view of the actual work itself, other than the scope of work. So Dave's arranged for that to take place. We're expecting that bids will close and be opened on January 3rd, is that right? Yeah, January 3rd. At that time, we'll review the bids, and, we're not necessarily looking for the absolute lowest bid. We're looking for the lowest bid that can complete everything that we want to in the time that we want it completed in. But we'll look at those bids, and then that'll come before council.
I see they killed a tree in front of there.
Yeah,
They killed a tree.
well, it wasn't a,
Building department killed that one.
Oh.
Plus, it was bad and needed to be off because with the side work that has to be done and removing those windows on that side, they'd never be able to get to it.
Okay.
and it was also damaging
But
the
that wasn't
roof.
full tree.
It was also damaging the roof as well.
Oh, was it?
Is that the weeping tree?
Yeah, the one that was in the middle.
Try and get maybe the ag department at the high school to help us with a plan for the landscaping on that.
Nice.
Done. I think that would be a
Yeah.
good project.
That'd be great. Good job.
So we're early in January, council will be approving the bid itself, and then we're hoping to start work sometime in January, and we're still targeting something for the spring to be able to complete it.
That'd be nice.
Susie? Nothing from Susie either. Okay, so at this point in time, we've got a closed session itself. So I've spoken with the city attorney regarding the legality of moving into a closed session regarding an applicant's qualifications and compensation package. So I need a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to Iowa Code 21.5 parentheses 1 parentheses I to evaluate professional competency of an individual.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. This will be a roll call vote.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Brusader.
Yes.
Okay.